Hello there. Welcome to this webinar on the competence model for oral storytelling called Oral Storytelling in 8 Colors. Welcome for being interested in it. That means that you are maybe a storytelling student who is looking for some inspiration to improve himself. Or maybe you are a storytelling trainer who is looking for some tools to build a curriculum or to make an evaluation system for his students. Or maybe you are a headmaster who is looking for a reference frame to build a training on. Or maybe you are an established storyteller who is just triggered by this new competence model and looking for some new input, some new inspiration. Now, before we start explaining this model, it is very important that you know that a competence model is not a curriculum. A curriculum is a set of learning goals, learning objectives, and it's made for trainings, for setting up trainings. A competence model is a set of competences, and it is a reference frame that can be used in the field, in this case, of storytelling. This is the model we'll discover together, and it has 2 sides. On this side, you can see a set of 40 competences in a plain way. On the other side, you can see the same competences, but with some examples. Those examples are not complete, they are just an indication to inspire you. Before studying this competence model, we first need to understand what competences are. There are countless definitions for competences. What they have in common are that they are a set of related knowledge, skills, and attitudes. After all, it is a combination of knowing, being able, and willing that enables someone to contribute to the realization of something. Competences are always defined in relation to tasks to be performed. The needs of the organization or job form the starting point. You are only truly competent if you can show competence independently in an authentic context. In short, a competence is a cluster of related KSA, knowledge, skills, attitudes, that enables a person to act effectively in a job or situation. I know, I can, I want. The competence model we will study today is, of course, relevant for the field of storytelling. When we will have a look at this model in a minute, you will notice that we formulated 40 competences and we divided them over 8 competence domains or 8 competence areas. And each domain is represented by a color. Let's have a look. Those domains are research, craftsmanship, art, performance, training, applied storytelling, tradition, and entrepreneurship. Each domain is managed by a supervisor. They approach storytelling from a specific angle, from a certain viewpoint. So the different competence domains can be related to different functions of the storyteller. We speak of the researcher, the craftsman, the artist, the performer, the trainer, the applier, the tradition bearer, and the entrepreneur. Let's get acquainted with those supervisors. The researcher is curious and interested. He or she likes to search and research, broaden their horizon, analyze and reflect. The craftsman wants to prepare their material, master their tools or instruments, apply their techniques, and have a way of working. The artist likes to experiment and create from an inner drive. He or she wants to express him or herself in a personal way. When you find it very difficult to understand the difference between the craftsman and the artist, think of a shoemaker. A shoemaker who knows his craft very well, knows his materials, he knows his tools, he knows how to use them, and he also masters a lot of techniques to craft a shoe. He also has a way of working, and because all of that, he will be able to deliver you a good, decent shoe. When you have a shoemaker who also is a bit artistic, he will feel the urge to add his personal touch and maybe even to share a message in the shoes he delivers. I think now of the Louboutin shoes with the red soles. You can recognize them from far. Or the El Naturalista shoes, who contain the message of be aware what you do with nature, because they are inspired on nature. The performer wants to communicate with and move an audience and is confident and prepared to do this. The trainer likes to initiate, train and coach others in their own field of expertise. The applier does not set storytelling as a goal, but uses it as a means to help develop something else. The tradition bearer carries on the oral tradition of a culture or community, keeping it alive and passing it on with respect for the past and the view of the future. The entrepreneur knows how to promote, manage, and develop their business. All those different roles or functions of the storyteller should not be seen separately. I will give you an example. I am a mother, a sister, a child, a partner, a storyteller, a teacher, a neighbor, etc., etc. I am all of that as I am sitting here at the same time. But I don't perform all those functions at the same time. Now, I am a bit of a teacher, and later, in an hour or so, I will be a mother preparing dinner for my children. It's the same with the functions of the storyteller. Sometimes in a process you are more like a researcher, and sometimes you are the performer. The different functions hold hands, they walk together and they set each other in motion. Another example. Last, I was rehearsing and I was experimenting with a new story I want to tell soon. And in the middle of this experimenting, I realized that I didn't know how a wedding dress looked like in the Middle Ages. So while the artist was experimenting, the researcher popped up and he asked the artist, "Shall I look it up now, or will I leave you experimenting and look it up later?" And the artist said to the researcher, "Do it later, because I know you. When you start looking up things on the internet, you will be off for hours." Let's zoom out again. Here they are, the 8 domains, the 8 colors of our playful competence model. Now, maybe looking at it all, you get a bit stressed and you think, but oh my God, I am not a trainer, or oh my God, I'm such a bad entrepreneur. Don't stress. As you can see, we divided the 8 domains in 4 and 4. The 4 first ones are the main domains. Every storyteller should be a bit of a researcher, a craftsman, an artist, a performer, whether you are on an amateur level or on a professional level. But not every storyteller should be a trainer or an applier or a tradition bearer or an entrepreneur. It depends on if you are professional or not, if you are born in a certain tradition or not, if you are interested in it or not. It depends on your choice, your need, your interests. Now let's have a look at the competences. As you can see, every domain has received the same number of competences. This is to prevent someone from thinking one domain is more important than another. There is no hierarchy. It can help to imagine the model is lying flat on a table and all competences are puzzle pieces that can change places. Some competences cover a larger area than others. Several competence boxes cover an entire series of knowledge, skills and attitude, while others contain a few. For example, master body and voice is a very large box. The boxes are created this way because they form a whole in themselves. For example, master body and voice is about mastering instruments you use for storytelling. Every competence is formulated in a way that it can be set at different levels. Let's take a competence from the domain of the researcher. Research background of stories and oral storytelling. A child in primary school can look up from which country their story originates, while a master's student can carry out thorough research into the origin of a story. If you are curious now what each separate competence contains or involves, I invite you to have a look later. You can find the model with one side and the other side with the examples on the FEST website. Now, I want to talk a bit about the benefits of this model. And I made a list and I need my glasses. This model suits art education, which means art and education. It is open enough to connect with art. We all know that art is not measurable, it's not rigid, but it is also at the same time oriented enough to serve education, because education needs to be goal-oriented. This model is universal and general, but it can be made personal and specific. And you can do that by breaking down the general competences into specific competences with learning outcomes and educational suggestions in a curriculum. Hopefully, this model can be embraced by many storytelling traditions, because we are all different. We all have our own insights, and that's why the competences are not specified. Let's take, for example, the competence master body and voice, and let's take the part master body. I know that in some traditions you have to sit on a chair and you cannot move a lot. But in other traditions you can move all over the scene and take the whole place if you like. But whether you are in this tradition or that tradition, you still need to be in your body. This competence model can be applied to many types of oral storytelling training. Initial, continuing, formal, non-formal, from amateur to professional level. It just depends on what competences you focus on and whether you choose just a few competences to work with during a short-term workshop or a lot of competences and competences domains in a long-term training. In this model, we tried to use clear, concrete, and active language. That's why most of the competences have a verb to make it active and a noun to make it concrete. For example, master repertoire instead of repertoire. Can you feel the difference? Master repertoire instead of just repertoire. We also try to make it active on the level of the domains, and that's why I like to speak of the craftsman instead of craftsmanship, the researcher instead of research. Can you feel the difference? Besides active language, this model also offers a toolbox filled with active and visual tools like cards to play with, maps to play with, and if you are interested in that, you can find it back on the FEST website. A very important benefit of this model is that it links oral storytelling to many other performing arts, because the main domains, the main areas of the researcher, the craftsman, the artist, and the performer apply to every musician, dancer, actor, and performing artist. What I really like of this model is that it leaves room for the unique path. Yes, some storytellers entered the field of storytelling because maybe for 20 years they collected books with stories, and then at a certain point they thought, well, maybe I also can tell those stories on stage. So they entered the field of storytelling through the domain of the researcher. But some other storytellers, they really had this message that they wanted to share with the world, and they entered the field of storytelling as an artist. And then maybe others, they were training children in language development, and they chose to use stories to do this. So they entered the field of storytelling through the domain of applied storytelling. So you can see, you walk your unique path as a storyteller, and that's brilliant. This last benefit is my favorite one. This model leaves room for the unique you. Because in the end, every storytelling artist will embody another composition and proportion of the different competence domains and competences. So, I hope this model can inspire you, invite you to color your own unique fingerprint. That was it for now. Thank you for watching, thank you for being interested, and hopefully this video and the model will inspire you. And the last thing I want to say is, enjoy your unique path as a unique storyteller. Bye.
That was great, Veva. I think it was such a very clear video. Wow.
Well, I hope it was clear.
We'll see if there are coming a lot of questions now. It was not clear, but I didn't see any questions.
But I would like to hold the questions for a few other minutes.
Absolutely, because we first have to go to Lear.
We have some testimonials, and I know that Liz wants to tell us what she did with the model, what her experience with the model was, and she has to host a storytelling evening in half an hour. So I'm so happy and so grateful that that she is with us, and that she would take 5 minutes to tell us something about her experiences. So it's your turn, Liz, now.
Thank you very much, Veva. I was one of the guinea pigs who went for a week to Belgium prior to lockdown. We just skirted in before lockdown happened. We spent a week being trained by Veva, and what a fabulous trainer she is. She took us through every aspect of the 8 colors. We did exercises, we did the toolkit exercises. It was really terrific. Michael Harvey will probably talk about it as well. But as a result, when I came home, I ran a series of workshops, 3 2-hour workshops on the 8 colors with 11 storytellers of very varied experience. Some were professional storytellers, some were just beginners, some were in the middle. And initially, when I proposed it, they were all very hesitant. They thought it would be very dry, they thought it would be this, they thought it would be that. What I did was to take a storyteller who wasn't that experienced and asked her to share her experience of each of the competences. She went down through each one and applied it to her own practice. And then I put them into breakout groups in Zoom, and they were able to discuss, come back. And we did this over a period. We did it for 2 2-hour sessions right the way through. And then the third session, we finished it off, and they did one of the exercises that I brought to the table at the workshop. It was one where you had to create a story as a result of listening to a song. And we had 11 fabulous, and I mean fabulous stories. I said to Veva at the time, in my whole storytelling career, which is quite long, this has excited me more than anything else, this 8 competencies, this 8 colors storytelling. So I thought rather than me just talk, I'll share a couple of comments from my people. One said it was a roadmap towards a destination that would take me towards a destination with more confidence and belief in myself. Somebody else said it doesn't stifle creativity and spontaneity, as she feared. It was a mechanism to develop skills to enhance those various aspects of storytelling. Somebody else said it was provoking, challenging, enlightening. It's the clearest vision yet of what I have to do to achieve my goals as a storyteller, which is not least to continuously hone the craft of performance. That was one guy that wanted to perform. So I'm not going to talk too long, but can I just say that I find it very practical. I am intending to run another course. I know I've spoken to a couple of people here about that. I'm going to do another 6-hour course under the Armstrong Storytelling Trust, and I'm very I'm happy. I don't want to sort of, I'm doing it primarily for local people, but if a couple of other people are really interested, the whole point of the Belgian course was that we would cascade this information that we've learned and sort of put it out to other people. So that's probably enough for me. Veva, if there's other questions, I mean, I'm happy to take questions. I'll stay on. I'm okay for another 15 minutes.
Well, maybe when people have questions for Liz, it's time to ask her now, because I don't want her to get into stress to host this other meeting.
No, I'm right.
Questions for Liz? Questions for Liz?
Or if anybody wants to email me, I'll put my email just in the chat and people could email me if they've anything else they want to talk about, you know.
Okay.
If you have a question, just open your mic and start talking, because we don't have everybody in the screen. No question.
I think it was very clear, Liz, what you said.
Yeah, and I've got all the feedback. I'd be very happy to send feedback to people if they want to see the feedback. I've sent it to Veva, and I was blown away by their feedback, because I knew some of them were very reluctant because they thought it sounded very dry, and they absolutely loved it, as we did in Belgium, as we did.
Thank you very much, Liz. Thank you very much, and enjoy your storytelling evening in half an hour. So then there is Paul from the Netherlands. Paul, where are you? Oh, there.
I am right here.
Yes, Paul, what did you do with the model?
Thank you.
How did you experience it, and what did you do with it? Oh my God.
I will tell you, first give a very short introduction. My name is Paul. I'm from the Netherlands. I'm both a storyteller and a storyteller trainer for the Dutch Storytelling Academy. That last place is where we used the model the most. I can only agree with Liz and everything she said and all her testimonials about how usable, how easy to use, how natural to use this model is. And even though it is very structured and it looks a bit daunting to work with, it absolutely is not. And I was lucky enough to be one of the guinea pigs, as Liz called us. What we do in the Dutch Storytelling Academy, how we used it is we started by taking all the courses we were teaching and compare them to the model. So we looked at how the teaching we were already doing fitted into the model, which gave us a very clear view of what we are teaching and also what we're not teaching, which presents a very important choice for us, whether to either add courses or change courses to incorporate those competences that we do not cover yet, or make a very conscious choice not to.
And Paul, maybe you have to explain that the Vertel Academy works with a range of workshops.
A large range of separated longer and shorter workshops. It's not a very long-term course, but they're all connected to each other. Mm-hmm. And the competence model gave us the possibility to make the connections even stronger and to really know what we're doing instead of guessing what we're doing. It became sort of a foundation to base our courses on. So that's one thing we did. Another thing we are in the process of doing is we're both creating a workshop for self-reflection for storytellers. So how to look at yourself, how to gather information about yourself, and how to use that to make yourself a better storyteller. And we use the model for that as well. So it gives us lots of input for a course like that. And to enhance that, we are also creating a feedback tool where we've translated each of the competences into observable storyteller behavior. So what can you see for someone who's very skilled in one of the competences? What would you see on stage? What would you see when you work with this person? So that's in development. It's not finished yet, but we're talking a lot about that. It's extremely interesting to break down the competence model and storytelling itself into smaller pieces, so to speak, and to disseminate the competence model in the Dutch-speaking area. We are also making a translation into Dutch because I think the English could be a threshold for some people to use it. So the translation of the text is done, but we are working on the layout, and we'll probably have that available sometime this autumn. So those are a few things we're doing with it, and we're talking a lot about it, and one of the great benefits is having the same vocabulary to talk about these things, even internationally. So I think I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Paul. That was very clear, and you did a lot of stuff with it already in this short time that it's out there. So normally we would have had Michael Harvey too in this webinar, but he couldn't make it because he also is hosting a storytelling course, I think, this evening. But he made a little message for us on video. So Arjen, you have this message, I think. Yeah.
25 years. I live in Cardiff in... Hello, my name is Michael Harvey. I'm a storyteller. I've been telling stories and giving workshops for just over 25 years. I live in Cardiff in South Wales. Last February, I was asked to come and observe a session where the framework competence model was put in place with a group of storytellers. When I received all the documents, I couldn't really understand what it was. However, as soon as I saw it in action, I saw what an incredible and transformative tool it can actually be. When the framework comes into contact with our practice as storytellers, particularly in a group, these two things, our practice and the framework, come together in a way that creates dynamism, creativity, and cooperation with a high level of authenticity and creative courage. I was so impressed by the way the group worked with the materials. Now, working with the framework practically doesn't tell storytellers how or what to tell, but it can help to release depth and spontaneity and relevance in our work. The process is dynamic and reflective, and also looks forward towards the future. Many of the participants were able to be very clear about the plans they had for their future storytelling. when I saw the group working with the framework, I could see that it was helping us as a group take our work as artists and as storytellers and our art form more seriously. And who knows, perhaps this clarity might bring storytelling into focus for bookers and funders and audiences. I would encourage storytellers at all stages of their careers to get together and see what the framework can do for them. For me, watching it in action was a revelation.
Wow, thank you, Michael. So I saw that Rosemary Lindfors is there too. Rosemary, I know you work together with Ivanir Hasson on a project for librarians in Lithuania.
Yeah.
Could you say something about that?
Well, that project it's actually moved to next spring.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't started it, but we will use this model because Ivanir was on your course, wasn't she?
Yes, she
I think
was.
she
Yes.
was, yeah. And I also used it when I work with people who want to learn how to tell stories. Yeah. So we said that this would be a great opportunity to use it. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
But I cannot say anything more because we are just planning this course
Yes.
now, and I don't know how it will end up. But it will be interesting because we are meeting. I think there are nearly 50 librarians from Lithuania that we will meet during the whole week. Yeah.
Okay. Good luck with it.
Thank you.
Let me know how the model slipped in. Yes.
I like it very, very much. Thank you, Veva. It's great to use it.
So we are still on time, Arjen.
Perfectly on time. We have a lot of time for questions.
Yes, we have a lot of time for questions or testimonials too. That's
or
all
testimonials.
good.
Or
Yes.
yeah. So Jennifer, to start with you, but it was not really a question, but you want to join Liz if she has a place left for you. Can you express that as long as Liz is here?
It's already settled, I think.
It's already settled. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but also, I think I sent a letter, an email, and you said that perhaps it would be repeated.
Liz.
Is it not going to be repeated anymore? Well, at the moment, it's probably difficult.
You mean Veva's course, the week-long course is what you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, that will be repeated too.
Well, okay.
Yes, we planned it in February, but because of COVID-19, we rescheduled it. And it will be in Eastern holidays from, let's see, from, I think from the 5th to the 9th of April, I think. And we rescheduled it because well, I don't know what the regulations are in all the countries because of COVID, but in our schools, we have to give class with open windows. And when it's Eastern holidays, the weather will probably be better and we even can have our class outside. So that's why we rescheduled it. But Fest will send out an invitation.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Aurora, you had a question for Veva or maybe for the others, but Aurora, can you ask your question?
Hello. Yes.
Yes, there you are. Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm really interested in this topic because, as Arjen already knows, I'm approaching also this idea of
Something goes wrong.
Yes, something goes wrong.
Aurora?
Developing a model or a protocol, create a sort
Aurora,
of guideline.
Aurora?
Can you hear me?
we lost you. Aurora, we
Hello?
lost you. You sounded like a robot or something for a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yes,
now
we can. So please, could you repeat your question?
Okay, I will try to be sure. Sure. Since I am also interested in developing a model or a protocol in my situation, especially related to healthcare system, I'm really interested in learning the process and the competences. And in case you are planning on publishing, area are you choosing?
We lost you again, Aurora. I lost her. Maybe you didn't, Arjen?
Maybe Arjen, you could read my question.
I will read your question. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, where is it? I really like, question. Since I also
quite at the top.
Yeah. Since I also find myself approaching a research to develop a model or protocol related to storytelling in a specific field, I would like to know more about the process that made you identify the domain, competences first, and how you tested, planning or are planning to test it.
Yes, okay. So you are interested in how it was developed, in the development of it. Well, I have it on paper because it was not an easy job to do. But here in Belgium, we have a model for all arts, and it's called Artistic Competences. And the model I made is based on this model I knew already in Belgium. But I had to specify it for storytelling, and I added some domains, because in our Belgian model, you also have the researcher, the craftsman, the artist, and the performer. You also have the team player. I didn't put it in our model because storytellers are not often that great team players, and they are not, it's not an identity. You can have team playing in all of the domains, but it's not, they don't feel it as an identity. But in the Belgium system, the team player is there because it's used for amateur art education. And of course, it's very necessary that in a classroom you are team playing, and also a violin player, violinist, or a dancer or an actor, they play in teams a lot. So I threw that out. Not at first, but I did it in the end, and I added some domains because this model I made is not for amateur education, but for the professional field. So we needed the entrepreneur there. And we did a lot of research in the beginning with Strand 3. A lot of, we did a survey, we did interviews with a lot of storytellers, and we noticed that some of the storytellers were tradition bearers, and others, there were a lot of storytellers who are into applied storytelling. I am not, but I know many of you are. A lot of you are trainers, maybe not in long-term training, but a lot of you are doing those short-term workshops. So we added those additional domains because we know a lot of you are doing this. What did I do then? So we had this research, this interviews, this survey. I had a lot of discussions and a lot of brainstorm sessions with a lot of storytellers, professional ones, amateur ones, all kinds of storytellers. I observed my students. I observed other storytellers. I can give you an example. I was at an international festival, and I'm not a performer that has a big repertoire. I'm mainly a trainer and a teacher. That's my core business. And of course, I am performing too. But I don't have this big repertoire as many international storytellers have. But I was at this international festival in Aldenwiesen, and I saw that some storytellers had lists in their pockets with maybe 100 stories on it, and they were watching how big is the room where I have to tell in, and what's the age of the audience, and what will I tell, and they could choose instantly what to tell. I can do it. I have to rehearse, and I hope at some point in my life I will have that repertoire too, but I haven't at this moment. But that's a moment that I realized that master a repertoire should be in there and in the box of the performer and not in the box of the craftsman, because we had a lot of discussion. Where does it belong? In the first place, it was not master a repertoire, but build a repertoire. And then the question was, well, that's craftsman. But talking about it and testing it, I could feel master a repertoire is the urge of the performer and not the urge of the researcher or the urge of the artist or the. So I observed myself. I observed my students, I observed other storytellers. We did a lot of reflection. I observed the different roles in myself. As you heard in the introduction video, I told about the researcher knocking on the shoulder of the artist, saying, what shall I do? Shall I look it up now, the information, or what will we do? And at one point, I was greeting my audience after a performance, and I could feel that I was with all the different functions greeting the audience, because the applause is normally for the performer in you. But there's so much that's going on before you can perform. And we all do it very intuitively. But when you are listing it, as I did in the model, you see it's not that easy as it seems. So is that an answer to your question? Oh yeah, you also asked about testing. I tested it in my classroom. I had the competence model in my classroom. At some point I had a student, and she was experimenting. She had a lot of ideas for a story, and the story was not finished. It was not ready to be on stage, but it was not necessary at that point in the process. But she kept hitting herself on the head, because she thought she was not doing well, and she was doing extremely well because she was experimenting in a fabulous way. So I had to stop her. I gave her the competence model, and I asked her, can you point at this model what you are doing at this moment? And she said, I'm experimenting. I said, yes, you are. It's in the domain of the artist. Let's have a group discussion on this. And with the whole group, we discussed, what do you need to experiment? It takes a lot to experiment. You need to be verbal. You need to have an imagination. You need to be courageous. You need to be open. You need to be vulnerable, etc., etc. And then she understood that experimenting is a real competence, and it's not on another level than the other competences. It's just a part of the process. So I did a lot of observing myself, observing my students, reflecting with them on the model, etc., etc. And it still continues. That was a very long answer. But did you get it, Aurora?
I think that's a yes, and otherwise, of course, you can always chat with each other and exchange numbers for some extra information. I guess, Veva, you're always ready to help people out.
Of course.
So, Shuheda, I hope I pronounced it rightly right now. You also had a question. Please, Shuheda, come in.
Yeah. Viva, thank you for your information. But I feel myself confused. But while you were answering the other question, I feel a little bit fine, because sometimes I use stories in my classroom. So I am an applier, and I like telling stories on the scene with the audiences, adults. So I am a performer. But how can we separate and how can we test? How can we know ourselves? I couldn't decide while I was watching your show, information. So can you tell me more specific information about it? Can we have more fingerprints in storytelling area?
Well, I think at this time in your life, you have your fingerprint. And I hear that you are a performer and an applier. So you will, when you take the little boxes of the model, some of them will appeal to you and others won't. When you take all the colors, all the boxes that appeal to you, and you put them in a range, that's your fingerprint from on this moment. But maybe in half a year, you will choose another road. And for instance, I'm a very bad entrepreneur, but I know that I should do something about it. So maybe in the future, I will take some of those boxes and put them in my bag, in my backpack. So your fingerprint can change, but don't see this domains or these functions separately. They always hold hands. They come together. They go together. It's also in exercises. In a simple warming up exercise, you can have a focus on looking each other in the eyes. So that's serving the competence, connect with your audience. But in this same warming up, you also have to be in your body and use your voice. So it's also at the same time serving the craftsman competence of master body and voice. So don't see it separately. It comes together. It goes together.
Yes, is that a bit clear? A bit.
a bit. Not totally, I think.
Yeah. All of them makes our fingerprint. I got it.
Yes.
Thank you.
But you are what you are at this time in your life, and maybe you will evolve to other domains that become more prominent in your life. But I hear you are a performer now and an applier, and you are also doing all the rest, I'm sure of it. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Perfect. Dog, you had a question.
Yeah, very simple, and I think it might have actually been answered in that last passage. Just curious if this model feels like it's complete, that's it settled, or if it's kind of a bit of a prototype, and if you anticipate it maybe evolving and becoming refined over the next year or so?
It already evolved. Because at first I already told the domain of the team player was in, and the domain of the tradition bearer was not there. And after the conference last year, the FEST conference in Kerkrade, this already came up. Where is the tradition bearer? And it was in before, but I had to throw it out, and then it came in again. So it is evolving, and it will evolve because we evolve. So how do you say that in English, Arjen? Voortschrijdend inzicht, proceeding insight.
Proceeding or progressing insight? Paul,
Yes.
Paul, you, oh, also no.
Yes.
Other Dutch people, help us. Okay, we're
we call it voortschrijdend inzicht. So we will evolve, so the model will evolve. I'm sure of it. And I'm always happy with feedback. Always. Is that an answer, Doggy?
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. Meanwhile, in the chat, I see a lot of chatting about workshops. To be honest, I cannot follow it anymore, but I'm not constantly looking. But there will be a workshop maybe in Germany. Wim wrote something about it. Work in progress. So what I see now, there are several workshops maybe planned. Of course, Fest will do everything to keep you informed about it.
Yes, there will be a German translation. It's also in the chat. Janine and Fest are working on it. And so when the country wants to have his or her own translation, it's possible because the templates of the model and also of the toolbox that goes with the model, we will give them for free. So if you search a translator, you can have the templates, and our designer also wants to help you. Then you have to pay her, of course. But so we have this list of conditions. So it cannot be for commercial purposes, etc., etc. And the design has to be respected, but we give a lot for free when you want to have your own translation. One of the conditions is that we can also put this translation on the website, for instance. Yeah. It's obvious.
And Janine is asking, are the templates now public on the Fest website? I just took a look. I put
the empty templates will not be on the Fest website. You have to ask them, but we will have a talk, Janine, because we had a talk with Guy and Kati, and it's all settled now. We are ready for it.
Okay. Aurora is back, and thanks you, Veva, for answering her question. Afterwards, her Wi-Fi was away. She apped me, but she's back. That's also good news.
I read in the chat that somebody got emotional, and I wonder why and in what way.
Hello.
That was Shauna.
It's me. I can't talk so much because I'm in the pub.
Oh, at least you can be in the pub.
I know, right? I have taken advantage of it. No, I just feel like it really catches how I feel and how I've always felt as a practitioner, but nobody's ever described it before. And I feel like I'm always trying to explain myself. Like, I work in an applied context, but I'm not a therapist and I'm a performer. That's not the main thing, and I research. It just seems to catch everything that I've felt for a long time, but even didn't know myself. And I just think it's a really beautiful model, and it validates like how I feel about what I do. So thanks so much for all that.
Thanks for sharing. Thank you.
Okay, and now I maybe have a last question, or maybe another question pops up. But Birgit is asking, is it possible to explain in one sentence what the 8 colors concretely aim at?
In one sentence, oh my God. It works on different levels. The 8 colors are there to inspire you, to invite you, to challenge you as a storyteller, but it's also material that you can send to instances, to organizations. Like there was a Swedish storyteller, he took this model to a school, and he explained to the principal of this school that he wanted to have a long-term storytelling class in this school, and because of the model he got it in 3 days, and he's how do you say that? He's a teacher now there in this school. So that's what the model can do. It's a statement or something, or it makes something clear. It gives language to talk about storytelling in a very easy way. But it shows that it is not nothing, that it takes a lot to be a storyteller.
But can I also say it gives direction for you to develop, to explore what kind of storyteller or storytelling trainer, facilitator, how you want to call it, you are.
Yeah.
And then in the direction, what you want to develop more, what you are maybe already strong at, to get your,
Yeah.
Sorry, Ariane, sorry, Viva, sorry if I interrupt you, but there is a perfect definition in the back of the of one of the
booklet of the toolbox. Read it, Mattia.
Do the
Just
definition,
read
Mattia. Yeah.
I'm just simplifying it a little bit, but it says this toolbox is one of the instruments to guide the storyteller's professional development.
Amen.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
So
Nice.
Veva, you already thought of it and you completely forgot.
I will memorize that sentence.
Now you need Mattia to get it all back. Wow, thank you so much, Mattia. Great. I think there are still some nice things in the chat, but no other questions. So I now want to invite you for some famous last words. Veva, you will be the last. But are there already some other famous last words, famous last questions? It's now or never. So it will be never. Okay, no famous last questions. Before I ask Veva to close this, I want to say thank you for being here. In 2 weeks, we have another meeting, another Fest Forum, which will be on storytelling and language learning. Might also be interesting. Other field, but very interesting, I think, myself, also because I'm preparing it. And then in 4 weeks, if I'm not right, in 4 weeks, we have, I think, a very interesting forum about storytelling and gender. And I think certainly in these times, it's very interesting to explore that. And not that we want to say this is wrong or this is right, but to explore storytelling and gender, and indeed as well discrimination connected to that. I think that's a topic we should really explore also as a field of storytellers. But that's for the future. I now want to ask, and there is from Janine, this session is indeed recorded and can be seen on the Fest website a little later. Kathy will rework it.
And the introduction video too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. So, Veva, do you want to have the last words?
I will have the same words as in the video. Enjoy your unique pathway as a unique storyteller. That's it.
Great. Thank you all. See you hopefully in 2 weeks. Enjoy your evening and bye-bye.
Bye.